trust the media, they're all full of lies. What you know a little bit, all hoping you dies. Live free or die. Live free or die. Live free or die. Live free or die. Two-party system, what the hell is that? Votes just the same, nothing but a crap. They tell you what to think, they control what you see. Why don't you think and heard on TV? I said live free or die. Live free or die. Live free or die. Live free or die.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hardfire TV. My name is Cameron Weber. Thank you for watching our program. It has been more than 4 years since the COVID lockdowns in 2020. During that time, there were reports of pressure on media outlets to suppress findings counter to the official narrative on how best to deal with the pandemic. It turns out that these allegations of suppression of speech are true, as found out in the Twitter files and other sources. For example, Mark Zuckerberg, just this past week here in late August, early September 2024, Zuckerberg testified that yes, indeed, he did suppress counter narratives to the government COVID mandate for the COVID problem, and then also he suppressed the laptop information, which would have maybe affected the election somewhat. So yes, these allegations of suppression of speech that we heard during the COVID era have now proven true 3 or 4 years later. It is important to document and discuss what happened for those who believe in the importance of free speech, that we can remain alert for further abuses. Today, to help me discuss central planning and suppression of speech, welcome back to Hardfire, Dr. Xiaoxi Long.
Yeah, hi, my name is Xiaoxi Long.
Welcome.
Currently, USTC, I'm a dental hygiene student. I used to be a doctor.
The first time Xiaoxi was on the show was when we discussed the Federalist versus Anti-Federalist debate during the formation of the U.S. Constitution. Welcome back, Xiaoxi.
Yes, my pleasure.
You're an immigrant to the United
Yeah, legally immigrant.
Legal immigrant, and you're also a Chinese dissident, right? The reason you came to the United States is because you were tired of authoritarian regimes, correct?
Yeah, that's
right. Regimes which suppress speech and things like that. Yeah.
present the speech that suppress everything.
Right. It's a matter of degrees. Yeah. Okay. In an earlier program, we discussed how the U.S. government, National Institutes for Health, and its employees gain royalties from the pharmaceutical companies when the COVID vaccines are used. This creates self-interest for the promotion of the vaccine solution in the USA and the suppression of alternative, less drastic solutions like the Swedish model and the Great Barrington Declaration. Xiaoxi, do you remember these stories of suppression of free speech during COVID?
Yeah, of course, there you say it's a conspiracy, but I was attracted by the conspiracy by them because based on my own experience, I, I can feel those conspiracy is the truth. Is the truth.
Right. So people were calling it a conspiracy.
Yeah, give the people, if you say those things, they will feel shame or give
Yeah.
you fear or something like that.
Like our frequent guest on the show, John Clifton, he calls himself a conspiracy analyst, not a not a conspiracy theorist, because some conspiracies are true. And the suppression of speech during the COVID era, which included the election, has proved true. So it's a true conspiracy.
Yeah, true conspiracy because people
It
is
wasn't. It wasn't. It was not a. It wasn't proven then that there was censorship. Correct. So people who said that there was censorship and a conspiracy, they were considered crazy. Don't listen to them. Suppress their
yeah,
speech.
yeah. That is just for the younger people because young people only get education. Everything they know is from the education, from the teachers, or from their own groups. So they have the lack of real life experience.
Right.
They
I wouldn't say it's I wasn't really having intellectual debates with school people at that time, but with adults who were calling it a conspiracy theory and follow the science and all of that, when in fact we were just being lied to and the truth was being suppressed. And I have not heard a single thank you, or I mean a single apology. Have you? I haven't heard an apology from anyone.
so if the people are being fooled,
Right. For example, people were saying Dr. Fauci was suppressing alternative views for expediency's sake, meaning people it would take too much time to explain to people why our solution is more important. Therefore, then we should just suppress alternative views, which then
so
made, huh?
Dr. Fauci, and he also confessed. He said, "Oh, there is no reason to keep 6 feet, 2 feet away, and wear mask or not wear mask.
Yeah.
There's no science evidence to support this
Right,
behavior."
right. He was in the position of being the leader, and when there's an emergency, the government has to step forward. You know, the government can solve everything, and Dr. Fauci was the one who had to solve everything, and so he was the one that led the conspiracy, literally, not a theory, but actually suppressed speech.
Yeah, they just limited the people's behavior, and I like to listen to the conspiracy, not the conspiracy. I think that is the truth. One of the doctor scientist from London University, something like that. He said, "Oh,
Jay Bhattacharya, Jay Bhattacharya. He helped write the Great Barrington Declaration, which was suppressed by what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg admits that he suppressed
oh,
this Great Barrington, or the Swedish solution was suppressed by Dr. Fauci. It was suppressed by the US government. It was suppressed by social media at the request of the US government. And now this Jay Bhattacharya is suing the US government for suppressing his alternatives.
oh
So
yeah."
yeah, now here it is. This was from Reason Magazine, most recent Reason Magazine. So here it is, all the people who were calling us crazy, now they're the ones being proven the useful idiots.
Yeah, they're just marketing people.
Well, a lot of people get their income from the US government. In fact, the US, the state is 40% of the economy. And then if you add on all the contractors on top of that, more than half the people in the United States make their living from working for the government. So of course they're going to back the government solution. They may be useful idiots, but they still have to butter their bread. For the record's sake, let's discuss exactly how this censorship of speech happened. During the COVID era, the US State Department is funding an organization called the Global Disinformation Index. I'll put up a graphic of their website, the Global Disinformation Index. The GDI, the GDI advises that advertising firms boycott certain outlets. Some media outlets are seen as low risk for disinformation, and some are high risk. We start to see the abuse of language with disinformation. Here is the graphic from the GDI website, which is still available. We can see that the least risky sites are National Pentagon Radio, National Public Radio, NPR, AP News, New York Times, US Today, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. The riskiest sites, the most risky sites for disinformation, meaning those who disagree with the government and Dr. Fauci and the NIH and the administration, both Team Red and Team Blue administrations are pushing the vax mandate. The risky ones are the New York Post, Reason Magazine, the Federalist, and for full disclosure, I of course read the New York Post and the Reason Magazine. We find that the New York Post and Reason Magazine lead the list of those sites that are deemed the riskiest. The risky platforms are those who are offering solutions to the vaccine mandate. This is censorship, right? This is censorship.
Yeah.
Because the list is state funded. So yes, there is censorship in the United States with taxpayer money censoring free speech.
So for some reason in American, the censorship is even worse than China.
Well, because we pretend that we don't do it. In China, it's obvious. Same thing with Vietnam. People put up with the corruption and stuff because it's obvious and you can see it. But here it's fake. You know, it's called democracy when it's really just abuse of power.
Make it looks like.
Yeah.
But
well, that's why we do hard fires, to expose these type of things so that people can at least learn from the past and not make the same mistakes in the future. It's not surprising that the US government and its employees would want to suppress views counter to their own, as they directly profit from the mandatory, inadequately tested vaccine, because they get a share of the profits from the vaccine, both the National Institutes for Health and their employees get a share of profits from the government vaccine mandate.
create a lot of jobs.
Now, I don't know if I would call that direct, yeah, that's corporatism, when government and government and private companies, corporations are in bed together. That's corporatism, which is a form of, I don't want to say fascism, but it's not, certainly not a republic. Okay, there is a fine line. There's a fine line in law between the persuasion and coercion when determining if censorship is taking place. It becomes censorship when advanced threats of government action are made against future acts of speech. Reason Magazine documents that the suppression of speech during COVID is in fact censorship beforehand. We know that it's censorship afterwards, 3 years later, but beforehand, it was suppression of speech because direct threats were made. In July 2021, the current lame duck president accuses Facebook of murder for allowing messages on its platform which are counter to the administrative COVID narrative. In addition, there are threats of legal and regulatory measures, which means overturning Section 2030 of the Telecommunications Act. This is a threat that would ruin the media platforms, so these words are censorious. Section 230 of the Telecommunications Act protects platforms from civil liability for content posted by others. In other words, it's just a platform, it's not a content provider. This is what allows the media firms to get free content and make money through advertising. Of course, Reason is on the list of media outlets providing disinformation and which should experience advertising boycotts. When the abuse of language occurs, such as abusing the terms misinformation and disinformation, we can know that the state is engaging in control. What were you saying? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Change the meaning of the vocabulary.
Right. As George Orwell, 1984. Exactly.
Or give you explanations.
Yeah, abuse of language. Right. And language has evolved through history. And so by abusing language, you're abusing history. Other examples of language abuse of language that we see today are price gouging, public good, democracy when we're really supposed to be a republic, liberal, which is really supposed to be someone who's for free speech, when today liberal means someone who censors free speech. And probably the big winner is in the Inflation Reduction Act, which of course caused up to 9% inflation. Anyway, we have just anything else you wanted to say about abuse of language? Did you see that in China quite a bit, or?
In China, abuse of language is different because Chinese language is a different system. It's hard to explain here, but yeah, but people, because we don't have so many debates, or some people just don't ignore what the government say.
Right. Yeah, you don't pretend to have debates. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, we just have about 5 minutes left. The COVID era censorship includes the 2020 presidential elections. Xiaoxi, as an immigrant to the United States, escaping Chinese suppression of civil liberties, I know you were disappointed with the way the 2020 election was handled. Am I correct?
Yes. The longer I stay in American, the more disappointed I will be. Hopefully, it will over after this new. Yeah, maybe this year, the election day, we will see more clearly. Yeah, people will wake up.
So you thought the United States was someplace special that actually had free and open and honest political system, and that's what you thought before you got here, and then you saw the abuse?
Yeah, I saw that the government were doing good for the people, but I don't know now. I doubt.
Well, the government. We learned from this show that in the COVID era specifically, that the government employees gained from the vaccine mandate. So of course they supported that. And then of course they'll support the president who likes government employees and likes the state, which is the liberals, which is the current administration. So of course the state and the liberals, or the blue party, are in bed together suppressing speech.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the red team is any better because they're against free trade, which is also anti-liberal, which is also a statist, nationalist problem. So, but in this case, what we're talking about, the suppression of speech, is definitely the current administration or Team Blue suppress speech, and they're in power now. And well, you're not alone. I have a friend who, several friends who are immigrants from totalitarian regimes, authoritarian regimes from Poland, who moved to the United States and then were also severely depressed about the process of the 2020 elections also, and said, why can't we have an audit? Well, we are having an audit. Right now, we're documenting what happened, and the front page of, I don't think yet the Washington Post or the New York Times, I don't know, I don't read those, but Mark Zuckerberg saying that he suppressed speech, the Twitter files showing that occurred, the government disinformation index, paid for by the State Department, by all these things are now coming to fruition to show that indeed there has suppression of speech. Why would this not occur again during the next election?
Yeah, so we will see more clear.
Yeah, why would it not? Okay, shortly before the 2020 election, taxpayer-funded NPR stated that the New York Post story about the laptop and the Biden family's overseas business activities are discredited by US intelligence and independent investigations by news organizations. This was a false claim. Again, this is National Public Radio is taxpayer funded, putting out lies during the election time.
Thank you.
Only now, 3 years later, does the New York Times, Washington Post, and CBS acknowledge that the laptop is real and not Russian disinformation. We note that NPR, New York Times, and Washington Post are rated least risky by the State Department, yet these outlets are the ones proven to be promoting false information about the laptop. Oh, by the way, I just read about in the New York Post that recent congressional investigations based on the laptop information showed the Biden family bank accounts received $27 million during the period that Biden was vice president.
Oh, during the vice president, which means how long?
During the period when Joe Biden was vice president, which was when Hunter Biden was recording everything on the laptop.
Oh.
The laptop was used by investigators to track the money, and there was $27 million into the Biden family bank accounts.
So unbelievable. But it's happened in America.
Unfortunately, yes, but luckily we can talk about it. We can't know if the information on the laptop was known before the election, that this would have changed the election. But of course, suppressing these facts didn't hurt. The US State Department stopped funding the GDI in 2022 after a congressional investigation, but that doesn't necessarily mean the media companies are no longer preferential to the administrative state. Remember the current Red Party presidential candidate was shot recently, and then Google and Facebook initially said that the photo was a fake.
Yeah, so some the blood come from right side, some picture the blood came from
Yeah, yeah.
left side.
So Google and Facebook initially refused to show the picture, saying it was a fake, and then about a week later, then they finally admitted it was true. So that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean the media companies will.
Earlier. Picture came out earlier than the shot.
Oh yeah, yeah. So maybe you know more. Very good, very good. Anyway, okay.
So everything is the big plan, part of a plan.
Yeah, it's part of a plan, but we have yet to determine who's making the plan. It certainly isn't Joe Biden, and it certainly isn't his vice president. It certainly isn't Donald Trump. So who's making the plan?
Is the group of people
Uh-huh. Okay.
who are in charge of everything.
Well, I ignore them. I completely ignore them and happily ignore them, except when doing this show. Okay.
And
We have just 1 minute left. I'd like to thank Dr. Xiaoxi Long for participating in today's discussion on government suppression of speech to protect its own interest. Voltaire said that I may disagree with what you have to say, but I will defend your right to say it. Only through free speech do we find the truth. Thank you for joining us, Xiaoxi.
yeah, thank you for inviting.
Thank you for watching Heartfire TV. Each of our episodes appears 6 times monthly on the Brooklyn Free Speech Network, both on cable in New York City and streaming through the BRIC Arts Media House. We have more than 75 programs about classical liberal ideas on our YouTube channel. Just search for Heartfire TV and Brooklyn Free Speech. See you next time.
Yeah, see ya.
Thank you.
What do you think that I'm talking about? Racist shit, no, I'm calling you out. Selling this crap to the roof. Call it what you want, but it ain't fucking you. Burning willy nilly, shooting fighting about to die. Wasn't for the human if you think I have to cry. Tired of the phoniness, I'm tired of the fuck. Like a girl.